Hi art students. Today it's another week and we're going to start a new art project. So let's get on with it. Hi students. Today, remote students that is, today we're going to do a new project, a new drawing project, and it is ink pointillism, um, where we're going to draw another picture, but this time instead of using lines, ink lines to kind of make it darker, we're going to use dots, right? So the first thing we need to do is we need to get a piece of paper. So you can get a copy paper, you can get a sketch paper, but there's going to be a lot of dots, so it doesn't have to be as big. So what you can do is you can take a regular piece of sketch paper or a copy paper and you can just fold it in half. This doesn't have to be as big. You know, if you want to make a bigger drawing, go for it. It'll just take a little longer. But if you're totally enjoying your art projects, your drawings, and your parents are like, want you to make a big one, then make a big one. But it doesn't have to be big because there's going to be a lot of dots. So I'm just going to fold my paper in half. So I'm going to fold it, don't fold it in half the super long way, right? That's too skinny. But you're going to fold it in half. It's still going to be skinny, but it's, I don't know. It's going to look like this. You're going to fold it in half this way. And then you can just, you know what you could do is you could just draw one, or you can cut it, but you can draw one, and then if you like it, you can draw another one. But I'm going to cut mine in half. So I got my paper here. So I just folded a regular 8.5 by 11 paper in half. This might be slightly bigger than that. I'm going to cut it. That way it's not so big. There. Because there's going to be a lot of dots. There's going to be a lot of detail on this. Okay? Okay. Then you have to find something in your house to draw. It can be a toy. It can be a baseball. It can be... Even if it's something simple, you have to put a lot of detail into it, right? It could be this. Here, oh, this is kind of cool. I should do this. It could be a little tape dispenser. It just needs to be something. Now, this might be kind of hard to draw. Like now, if I drew this, I would probably draw it like this, right? Because it kind of fits my page pretty good. I'm going to draw... I just found something around the house. So I found this guy. He's like a bookend. He kind of holds up my books. And he's kind of like a... I don't know what... Does it say what he is? Nope. Doesn't say what he is. He's like a little dragon dog, you know, that kind of protects temples. But he's just like he's a little decoration, but he looks pretty cool. So normally books, like he's a bookend, right? But I want to draw his face because it's really interesting. So you might find something interesting like this. You might have a stuffed animal that you want to do. You might have a toy. You might have an object. Like I said, that tape dispenser. You could draw... Normally, I'd say do a piece of fruit, but you have to hold on to that fruit for 3 weeks. It might get rotten, right? So I don't recommend fruit. Maybe have like a Funko Pop that you want to do. I don't know. That's a toy. Whatever you have. It could, like I said, it could be a baseball, something that you can draw. And then I'm going to put him out of frame, so you're not really going to be able to see him, but I'm going to draw him. Then you want to get a piece of pencil, right? Pencil. And you want to lightly draw your subject matter. So I'm going to lightly draw my subject matter. And that's all we're going to do today. Well, I take that back. We're going to lightly draw subject matter, and then we're going to do a scale in dots. In dots, right? Okay, so here we go. First, I'm going to draw him. So I'm going to draw him. You can watch me. You can watch me draw for a little bit, pause it, and then just draw your picture. But draw it lightly, because we're not necessarily going to do lines. We're going to do dots. And that sounds like you're like, what? What does that mean, Mr. Smith? You'll see. So I'm just going to draw this guy real quick. So I might get kind of... Oh, one more thing. When you draw, make sure it fills your page, or most of it, right? So for instance, we've done this before, like with our shoe. So like the top of his head is going to be here. The bottom of his mouth is going to be here. So I'm going to draw these lines so that it makes sure that I fill my whole page. Like if I didn't draw these lines, I would probably make the face this big. And you don't even know how many students draw too small. I think it's just human nature to draw things small. So you want to force yourself, like this is the top of the subject matter, so it's the top of his head. This is the bottom of his mouth. So whatever you're drawing, if you're drawing this, it's like this line is this edge, and I'd maybe draw it like more at an angle here. Like this would be over here. So it fills, oh, and I would do the top too. I'd do like, here's the top of my scotch, here's the bottom of my scotch. I want to draw this. Maybe I'll draw this like while I'm in campus at school. Okay, so I'm going to draw my guy now. So let's see. I'm going to start with, you might want to start with your basic shapes. Draw lightly. So let's see. I'm going to draw, he's kind of got like an oval face. And then let's see, he's got like a mouth here. So I'm just going to draw this. So you can either watch or just fast forward. He's got like, when I draw, I'm trying to draw the basic shapes, right? Now I've done this before, so maybe I'm making this look easy. But you want to think basic. Like I'm not drawing all the detail of his mouth yet. I just kind of drew about where his mouth was going to go. Then I go, oops. Then I go back and try to draw, I don't know, the extra parts. Like here are his teeth. And he's kind of got like a tongue shape here. Then maybe I can draw some of his teeth. But I'm not drawing, I'm drawing very lightly. You want to draw lightly. And then here I kind of made a little mistake, so I'm just going to erase that a little bit. Okay, he's got nostrils here, lightly. And then his eyes are kind of like, so it's kind of like this. He's got like a thing here. I don't know what it is. Like a scale. And he's got like another one here. Okay. And he's got like these ears in the back. Okay. So this is kind of like what we want to do first. We just want to draw lightly, and we want to kind of draw whatever it is you're drawing. Tape. Now, I'm going to draw part of his body too. So look, he's kind of got like his, it's kind of like that. And then he's kind of like that. Okay, and then okay, and then let's see. He's got a chin here. Okay, these are his like lips. Once I have the basic outline drawn, then I go in and make not too dark, because remember we're going to use pointillism, but I want some parts to be a little darker. Like I want his mouth to be a little more defined, because that's important. And then kind of his eyes. His eyes are kind of, you can kind of see his eyes. I want to make sure those are easy to see. So that looks pretty good. Let's see, does he have any bumps? I don't know. Okay. I guess that's it. Oh, and then this I can erase. That doesn't erase very well. When you draw, just use a number 2 pencil. Just any pencil around the house is going to work fine. Okay, and then I can erase this part. Like I thought I was going to go this high, but I didn't use all that, so I didn't totally use all the paper, but it's most of it. It's tall. He's not like this big. He's still bigger. Okay. So I kind of drew my subject matter. So that's kind of like what we want to do first. Okay? And I did mine kind of fast, so it'll probably take you longer. And I didn't put in every detail either. Like if you look at this guy, let's see. There's a lot of detail. Like there's a lot, well, it's kind of hard to see. That's because it's dark. But there's like little holes and dots and all kinds. I didn't go crazy yet, because remember, we're going to do pointillism, right? And so that's it. So the first thing you want to do is you want to draw lightly, not super dark, although mine looks kind of dark. Try not to make it super dark. And then that's it. So you might want to pause this video and then draw your picture lightly, and then unpause because I'll show you the next part we're going to do. We're going to make a value scale, but with dots. Okay, so pause the video, finish your drawing, and then come back right to this spot. Okay, you came back to this spot after you drew your picture. So hopefully you had a good time drawing your picture. Hopefully it wasn't too hard. Don't worry if it's not perfect. Your drawing doesn't have to be perfect. The focus is the pointillism, which we're going to start next week. But today what we want to do is we want to make a small scale, a value scale. So watch what I'm going to do. Do it on the bottom of your paper. That way, if your parent wants to frame your beautiful picture, they can just cut that part off, right? So make it, you're going to make it kind of thin on the bottom of your paper like this. Watch. So I'm going to make a thin bar, kind of like that. Here, I got to move my guy out of the way here. So I have a thin bar, and we want to divide it by 4. So first we divide it in half, right? So I'm going to divide it in half. So let's see, this looks, and don't worry if it's not perfect, right? Don't worry if it's like not perfectly half. Okay, that's half. Now I want to divide my halves into half. So like I'm going to take this part and divide this part in half, right? And then I'm going to divide this one in half. So that gives me 4, but I want 5 values, right? So if you're running, like it looks like I have a little more space over here. So I'm going to put my 5th box here. But like if you had more space on this side, you'd put it over there. But you just want 5 boxes that are about the same distance, right? So I got 5. Very good. Okay. Now we're going to make another value scale. Here, I'll just do one real quick over here. Here's my sketch paper. Here, let's see. Let's see here. Okay. So like in the past, we made value scales like this. We shaded them in, right? So like here, I'm going to make my other one. I'm just showing you on this, so you don't have to do this extra. So remember how we did it? We filled it in as dark as we could, and then this was like our medium. So this is kind of like a medium value, and then in between the darkest and the medium, it was like a little darker. So let's see if I can make this a little darker. Yeah, and then this was like in between. So white is on top, so it's like in between this. So it's like a light gray. So it's kind of like maybe like this, right? So now it looks like though this is dark. This needs to be a little darker. Let's see here. No, I think that works. So you can see there's 5 values. So I got white, light gray, gray, dark gray, black. Or well, it's not black, but it's as dark as I can get with a pencil, right? Now, don't do this with a pencil because we're going to do this with ink. We're going to do this with pointillism. So this time we're going to use dots. So I'm going to get a pen, but we're going to use a million little dots. So that's going to take forever. And then I won't do as many here, right? Dots, and then not as many here, right? But I'll show you over here. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to do values, but in dots. Pointillism, right? Pointillism is points, little dots, and they're going to create a shading effect. So I'm going to get rid of this. Now, when we did our ink shoe, I said a ballpoint pen will work. And I think let me try a ballpoint pen. This is where a ballpoint pen won't work as good. Let's see. Well, you have to kind of, if you use a ballpoint pen, you have to kind of like, you can't just dot it. Although, well, it's kind of dotting, but you might have to like kind of press down and kind of move your pencil or your pen around a little bit so you actually get the dots. Or you might be able to dot, but this doesn't work as good as, let me find my pens. Oh my gosh, I don't have them. That's funny. They're in my bag over here. Hold on. So I have this pen. It's like an ink pen. Let's see. That's all I got. And then an ultra fine point Sharpie will work, but I don't have one. Let's see. Oh, I dropped them off at school. Oh, I gave it to my daughter. So if you have an ultra fine tip Sharpie, an ultra fine tip Sharpie has like a thin point like this, that'll work. An ultra fine tip Sharpie will work. They're kind of they're not the regular Sharpies, so those will work. Only use a ballpoint pen if that's all you got. This is like a what do they call this thing? A rolling ball, extra fine. But this is kind of like, it's easier to draw and they're dark lines. So these are like for signing checks. Look to see if you have one of these. It's smoother, and your parents might use them to sign checks and stuff. Say, hey, Mom, do you have like I need a pen that's more like this one. What is this? This is I got a Pilot. I got this from Costco. But whatever, you can get these at Target anywhere. But hopefully you have a pen like this in the house. If not, worst case scenario, you can try to use, they call these ballpoints, like they're Bics. Nah, they don't work that good. Well, they worked great for our ink shoe, but not so great for pointillism. So this will work better for pointillism. And then, and when you use it, don't like go don't do dots like that. You can just press down because you'll damage the tip. So when you're doing the dots, you're just gonna kind of like press. You're just gonna do point. Oh, it's gonna take forever. Oh boy, that's gonna take forever. So, but this will work. But you don't have to jam it because you'll break the tip, right? So you'll just kind of dot it. Okay. This is easier than this. Micron pens, I think, are these by Pilot? I think they might be by the same company. Anyways, these work great. But this, so this is a number 3. Let's see, do I have a 5? I don't have a 5 handy. So these are like drawing pens. You can get these at Target. I think you can get these at Target, maybe. But you can get them at like Michael's or Hobby Lobby. They usually come in a set of 3. Usually you'll get like a 3, an 8, or maybe a 5, maybe a 1. But you want to use at least a 3. Don't use a 1. A 1 is too thin. But a 3 or 4, let me see, do I have a 5 handy? Here's my 5. I got a 5. So they have numbers. The bigger the number, the thicker it is. I'm going to use a 5. Now, you don't have to get these. These are, well, they're not that expensive. They're a couple bucks. And I didn't send them home, right? Because we don't have these at Valley. But these are really nice. And these work great. So again, you don't jam it down. You're just going to press it. And you can get a lot of nice little dots, and it's kind of easy. This is like a drawing pen. And then they have fancier ones, like for manga and stuff. But basically, a Micron's a cheaper version of the fancy manga pens that they'll have at Hobby Lobby and Art Supply Warehouse. Or not Art Supply Warehouse. Michael's. I mean, that's more accessible to your parents. So, but remember, just find something around the house. If you don't have a Pilot, well, if you have an ink, this is like a roller ink pen, use this. If you don't, use a ballpoint. If you have something nicer, like a nice pen, you can do this. If you have an ultra fine point Sharpie, which I don't have on me, you can use that. And that has a very tiny, it's smaller, it's like this. It's a little thicker than this, and you can do dots. That will bleed a little bit, but that'll be okay. That's probably the best pen. So if you have an ultra fine point Sharpie, that's probably best. This is second best, so I'm going to use this, Micron. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Oh boy. These little dots are going to take forever. So let's see. I'm just going to start doing a million little dots for my black area. Now, you're probably thinking, Mr. Smith, can't you just fill that with black? You're probably right, and that would probably be okay. But here's the thing. We want to get, oh my gosh, see how long this is taking? We want to get this dot action happening. This has a texture, and it might be hard to see on my little camera, but this will look better than black. Although some areas might be black on your ink pointillism drawing. Whew, this is taking forever. I'm getting tired. This is good for you. This is good for you. This is like whew, you see how long this is taking me to do this? But they're pretty close together. This is pretty dark. You can even add some more dots later. Just don't fill it in total black. Like, I want all these dots in here. And I'm not banging my pen. I'm just, ooh, this is taking forever. Okay, here we go. It's fun though. You can kind of make it all perfect, like go along the edge. You can like, right? Try not to get it on your table. You can like put another piece of paper like here, so like that way you don't go like off on your, like you don't dot your, your kitchen table. I bet your parents would love you if you did that. So you might want to have protection if you go up to the edge. Okay, so let's look at it. So that's like my darkest value. That's black. Now it's not perfect black, but that's pretty close. But it has a nice texture because of all those dots. Okay, now let's go to our medium. Let's skip the one. Let's skip and let's go right to the medium. So now we want to add dots, but not like Not everywhere, right? In fact, don't do too many dots because you can always add more dots. Like if you add too many dots, it's too late. So maybe what I'll do is I'm going to add some dots here, but not too many. And then I can always add more dots later. So let's see, that feels like my gray. So see how I didn't, you're like, that just looks like a bunch of dots. I know, but that's kind of the point of pointillism. Now, maybe I'll add some more, but I don't want to add too many to begin with. I'm going to do the darker, well, I'm going to do the lighter one first. Then I'm going to do the darker one, and then if this one needs to be a little darker, I can add some dots, right? But don't add too many to begin with. Okay, now I'm going to go to my lighter value. So remember how we had like 5 values here? So like this one is going to have less dots, and then the white's going to have 0 dots. So here's my light. So I'm just going to kind of, now I have to kind of space them out. This might be kind of hard to do, but I don't do as many dots. So let's see. You don't need too many here. There. See? Now if you squint or look at it far away, it starts to look like a gray. Watch, I'm going to move it away here. See how it's looking like a gray? It doesn't look, it still looks like dots, but it's looking more like a gray. Your brain is kind of putting the dots together to make a gray. So try not to do too many close together, and then no dots for your white. Technically, you could do like 4 dots, right? 3 dots. That can still count as a white. It's not 100% pure, but you get the idea. Okay, now this one, this one is the dark gray. So it has to be not as much as my black or my 5 value, but more than this one. So I'm going to start by just doing this amount. So I'm going to, well, maybe a little more. So I'm going to kind of go like this. Let's see, maybe a little more. But not as many as this one, right? Okay, so let's see here. So this is tricky. And it takes some time. The longest one is the dark black, right? That takes, or well, it's not black, but it takes a long time. Okay, so now this looks a little darker, but I think this needs to be a little darker. I think what I'm going to need to do, let's see, maybe add some more darkness in here. Maybe I need to add some more dots to my black area. So it's like almost a black. Oh, it's taking forever, but you get the idea. Ooh. Whew. This is why I told you to make a smaller drawing. You're like, oh no, Mr. Smith, I'm going to put a bazillion dots. Yes, that's why it's half a paper, right? I didn't make you do a full paper. This is a half a paper. It's going to take a long time, but it'll look really neat. You'll probably like it. It's like super therapeutic. It's like, you know, a lot of people don't do shading this way because it takes forever. There, but it's therapeutic. Okay, here you can see my values. So 1 is white or almost white. I put a couple dots in there just for the texture, but like, not, you could leave it white. This one has some dots, but not too many. This one has more. This is my gray. This is like my gray value. Then it's dark gray, and then like almost a black. And you can see my values. So try to do that. Remember, it's easier to add some dots later. So it's like, oh, like I need to add more dots in my black, and then, you know, maybe add some more dots to my dark gray. It's easier to add dots. So try not to do too many at first. Then you maybe can add more dots in your little sections. But don't worry if it's not 100% perfect. But this is kind of a guide for what we're going to do for our drawings. So for instance, we're not going to do it today. So today we're focusing on our drawing and our value scale. So now we have a 5 value scale. Like I've told you before, usually it's 9. It's like a 9 value, but we're kind of keeping it kind of easy. So normally it's like 9 values. If you want to challenge yourself, go for it for fun, like maybe on a scratch paper. See if you can do a 9 value chart. It's hard. Maybe we'll do that the last couple weeks of school just for fun. We'll do different value charts. You're like, that's not fun, Mr. Smith. It is for me. It is for your art teacher. But for now, five values is good. Now, next week, we're going to start doing the pointillism on our drawing. But let me just show you kind of an idea of how it's going to work. We're not really going to trace the lines. I mean, maybe a little bit, but instead we're going to use dots. So like if I want this to be an outline of his nose, I'm going to use dots. Now you're probably looking at me, you can't see me actually, but you're thinking about me, you're like, Mr. Smith, that's practically a line. Can't I just draw a line? No, because this is a different look. Now it's almost a line. It's like little dots close together, almost a line. Okay. And then it's like, okay, now I'm going to do like his nostrils. Okay. And then his nostrils, it's hard to see here, are mostly black. So what I would do is I'm going to go like a bunch of little dots in here to get mostly black. And so this is what we'll do next week. I'm just going to do this part. Now don't start, I know you're excited to start doing all your pointillism, but wait till next week, okay, so I can show you. So now let's look at his nose. His nose is a dark value, right? So is his nose, well, shoot, here's the problem. It'll be a zillion dots if I do this one. So I'm probably going to do this value, even though it's more like this value. I'm going to do this value like this one. It's like the medium value. That way it's less dots. But then for shadows, I'm going to go darker and darker. So I recommend, it's funny that I just figured this out. You probably want to pick something that doesn't have a lot of black. I have a lot of black in mine. So I'm just not going to make it black. I'm going to make it mostly gray. And then in the shadows, I'm going to go dark gray and black. So it's not going to be as much black as you see here. But if I picked something more like this, there's not as much black. Like this value, this green, is kind of like this, and maybe it's like this and maybe some of this. So I don't know. Anyways, okay. So for instance, I'm not going to finish it, but I want to shade his nose. So I'm going to add a lot of these dots in here to kind of get that look. Let me see here. Oh boy, that's taking forever. But the nice thing is I can have a highlight. So watch, I use a little less dots there, more dots here. Sometimes you mess up a little, it's okay. Like, you know, if you mess up a little and you add a little too many dots in an area, don't worry, because eventually you're going to have a million dots in your whole thing, and you're not going to notice a little mess up. Like, try not to mess up, but like if you're like, oh, I messed up, I shouldn't have used so many dots. Don't worry, no one will notice. You'll have a bazillion dots. Here you can see why a micron pen would work better, and this kind of like it's an ink flowing pen. These work pretty good. Or that ultra fine point Sharpie work good. So here you can see that his nose is, well, here it kind of looks like a bunch of dots, right? But if I pull it far away, I can only get it so far away. It looks like a gray. And that's the illusion or the shading that we're going to do on this pointillism. Okay, so that's it for this week. Don't start doing pointillism yet. That's week 2 and week 3. So, but drawing and 5 boxes of pointillism dots scale. And that's it. Draw lightly. And next week we're going to do pointillism. We're going to do all the dots, and the 3rd week we'll do pointillism, and it'll take forever, but hopefully it'll be kind of therapeutic. You're just going to be adding dots, maybe put some nice soft music on in the background. You're doing little dots. Remember, you know, it'll be fun. Hopefully it'll be fun. So that's it. That's what we're doing. But that's it for this week. So I will see you next week, remote students, and I'll talk to you then. So have a great week, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.